Alright, folks, back at it. I'm going to draw some hot pirates and gush about a franchise I've been into for a few years now. I finally took up the challenge to watch every episode of One Piece. I got close to 300 and swiftly switched to reading the manga because the filler was getting a little repetitive. And since then, I'm currently making my way through the Wano story arc. I can't wait any longer to talk about this series, so let's set sail on an adventure and discuss it. While the length of the series can be intimidating to casual folks, I think it's worth a try, as this is a story that has a lot to pack in and contains a world that's always given something new and unique to experience. Starts off simply, as Monkey D. Luffy has one goal: he wants to be king of the pirates. And if you forget, don't worry, he'll remind you pretty much every time he gets in a fight with a villain. While he said that's his main goal, it's clear from reading through the series and watching the development all the way, there's more to it than that. Luffy wants to build his own crew, a family if you will, who will help aid him on his journey and make several new friends along the way. Luffy might seem like the generic shonen hero who is boneheaded, eats a lot, likes to fight, and wants to constantly get stronger. But what sets him apart is deep down, he has a good heart and knows right from wrong. He'll often ignore the advice and orders of those around him in order to make rash decisions he feels are right in that moment. Sometimes it works out for him, other times not so much. But he learns from his mistakes and slowly grows as a character as it continues. Also, he's hot. Just dag-nab. How does a man made of rubber have such hard muscles? Right from when he finds his very first crew member, pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro, you would wonder why such a badass swordsman would call such an absent-minded youngster like Luffy his captain. Luffy just needs a good top to dominate him after they find the treasure. They're so gonna get married at the end, bet! One of my favorite Luffy moments is when they're on this island that's having a slave auction. Yes, there's slavery in this world. Well, this rich dickwad called a Celestial Dragon, basically the beings in this world that are the elite who get to do whatever the heck they want without consequences from the law, shoots one of Luffy's friends just cause he's a fishman, and fishmen are considered inferior to surface dwellers. So what does Luffy do? Knowing he's not allowed to lay a finger on a member of such a wealthy family, he proceeds to punch him and knock his ass out. Yeah, you tell them, Luffy. Don't eat the rich. They're too full of gristle. Knock their frickin' heads off. I don't normally cheer when reading stories, but that was a moment that sealed the deal for me how awesome Luffy is. Of course, can't talk about Luffy without going into his crew members. I mentioned Zoro a bit. He's pretty much the Piccolo of the series, the no-nonsense, tough-as-nails bodyguard who loves sharp swords and good booze. He tends to be serious and come off as a hard-ass, but moments when he shows his soft side and is sweet and protective to his friends and innocent people, that shows who he is deep down. Oh, and he's got abs for days himself. Yum. I want to rest my head between those pecs. Nami was next, the one the boys online really like. She tends to be a little self-serving and have a lack of patience than the rest of the crew, especially Luffy. But the more she develops, the more she shows to have a good heart herself, actually becoming somewhat of a motherly figure to the other characters. One of my favorite moments with her was on Punk Hazard, when they run into some kids that are being experimented on. And there's like 5 daycares worth of kids. Nami don't care. She flat out says they're getting those kids out of there and they'll figure out how to take care of them from there. Such a good mom! And as a feminist, I appreciate how Nami can hold her own and doesn't let any man take advantage of her, while she also uses her good looks to her advantage. One of my favorite exchanges with her involved the head of Kinemon commenting on Nami's bikini top and pants, and she responds with saying it's a fashion choice and not an invitation to be catcalled. Then there's Usopp, one of my favorite characters. He's a compulsive liar and embellisher, and always boasting himself up to be a heroic warrior, but deep down, he's the most cowardly one of them all. However, bravery doesn't mean lacking the ability to be scared. It's doing feats of heroism despite being scared. And that's Usopp for you. While he's always trying to run away unscathed, when the time calls, he takes his opportunities and has some of the most badass moments in the series. Sanji the Simp, as I like to call him. He's a skilled cook and has got legs and knows how to use them. His main weaknesses are food waste and beautiful women. The guy gets love struck at the sight of any woman he finds pretty, almost bleeding to death from his nose while they were on an island full of mermaids. Oh, and he's also the son of a military fascist nation that's created super soldiers to auction off to dictators. 'Cause whose family hasn't? Tony Chopper, a reindeer mink who becomes the crew's doctor. He's wide-eyed, innocent, and childlike, but has common sense and can hold himself in a fight if the time calls for it. And he's just flat-out adorable. I love him. Nico Robin, the crew's archaeologist, a soft-spoken, avid reader who is very kind-hearted and loves anything cute. When her crew is in danger, she's always there to lend a helping hand, or hands, as her powers allows her to duplicate her arms and make them appear anywhere around her. Frankie, the cyborg who likes to show off his speedo, which I don't mind. He's a shipwright who hypes up his crew and makes them sound like $1,000,000 every time. He's also one of the strongest fighters on the Straw Hats and uses his cyborg abilities to kick bad guy butts. The singing swordsman, the Soul King Brook, probably the most eccentric member of the Straw Hats. He's a true blue musician who always has an affinity for cracking jokes and wanting to peek at women's panties. He loves his crew and knows how to sword fight if danger shows its head. Finally, there's Jimbei, the master of Fishman Karate. Leader of the Sun Pirates, he becomes a member of the Straw Hats after he's inspired by Luffy's drive and determination, believing he's the key to bringing peace to the world. He's strong and wise, the elder statesman of the crew. I haven't gotten to see him as a member of the crew yet, but every time he shows up in the story, I'm all for it because he has the presence of a man you don't want to mess with. Considering this is a series about seafaring pirates, they run into a lot of scantily clad women, and the series has gotten attention for that. You don't have to search far to find art of characters like Nami, Robin, and even Boa Hancock. But if you ask me, the series is screaming gay energy. Just look at all the half-naked guys we get. There's too many of them to count. I rarely see any well-built man in this show not wearing a shirt. Then again, a lot of these men are so dang big, I don't think they even have shirts their sizes. Just look at Whitebeard. Holy moly, how did Grandpa get so swole? Hope that long staff he carries around ain't compensating for something. But I don't just have sweaty, beefy guys to back me up. This series has dabbed into queer culture as well. In the story arc Impel Down, Luffy breaks into the highest security prison in the land in order to save his brother, Ace, who is a real snack himself. Well, Luffy finds himself in the section of the prison that's a secret to the crew running it. It's pretty much a gay club full of drag queens, trans people, queers, all the colors of the alphabet. It's run by a powerful revolutionary named Ivankov, a drag queen who helps save Luffy's life after he is poisoned. And if you think for a second Oda is subtle about it, hell no. There's a scene where Ivankov turns a man into a woman despite the son's objections, and he replies with, "Your father wanted to be a woman, deal with it." And he shortly follows it up with this rousing speech. "Man or woman or both, be whatever you want to be. I've already shattered the borders of gender. We all have. We've already transcended it. We are the new humans, the new Kama. This is our garden of freedom, new Kama land." Okay, so here you have probably the best-selling book series in the world flat out promoting gender nonconformity and a huge rallying cry for the LGBTQ+ community to be ourselves and overcome adversity. This is not coming from a villain, nor can it be interpreted any other way. This is a character who plays a major role in helping the main character survive and even aids him in his escape from prison. This story is so freaking awesome. All those chuds that have tried to claim manga and anime aren't full of wokeness or queer indoctrination look pretty silly right now. I don't see this much gayness expressed so loudly in Western cartoons. I freaking wish, though! So when the steam coming off of all the hot studs in this series doesn't get to me, the storytelling for each arc feels like puzzles falling into place. Every action has a purpose, every character has goals they're trying to achieve, and they follow specific paths to get to them. Some of the fun of this series is the crew has to split up for different tasks, and we cut between different groups to see the story slowly playing out. And when everything comes together in the end, the action goes down and no character feels left out. Every member of the crew, and even side characters, have their big moments to shine in each arc, and none of them feel like they're just taking up space or are easy targets. As much as I love Dragon Ball Z, it felt like a lot of the characters trying to survive while they wait for Goku to show up and save the day. While Luffy does end up being the main bad guys in the end, the other crew members don't feel weak and hopeless, and they can hold their own just fine. It can be challenging writing a story with so many characters and making them feel important in some way, but Oda has managed to pull it off and makes us care for all of these people. Honestly, I can go on about One Piece all day. I feel I haven't even scratched the surface of all the world has to offer. So if you've been on the fence about getting into it, I get it. I was like that too. But thanks to recommendations from a friend, once I got started, I haven't gotten off. The story has sucked me in, and I'm riding this ship until the end. I want to see Luffy and his friends reach their goals, as I feel I'm right there with them on that ship. And I gotta see that Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp orgy, of course. So, if you're thinking about it, I say check out One Piece, and see if it's up your alley. I would recommend the manga if you don't want to slog through a bunch of filler. Or you can wait for the new anime to come out with less filler. Up to y'all. Until next time, happy sailing.